Hey, Ben here, and welcome back to the FIU Server. Yeah, I believe I was taking this down here. Just not sure how I'm going to bring this down more. So yeah, like I said, I'm continuing building this. I believe that's the next one. So I'm going to go here. Whoops. So anyway, I'm a bit of a history buff, geek, whatever you want to call it. Basically, I like history. And, because I think history's interesting. Fun to study. And anyway, so in one of my classes today, this is the first week of uni, by the way, or at least this semester. Oh yeah, my shovel broke. Amazing. And anyway, so one of the classes I'm taking, like I said, I'm majoring in economics, so I want to actually tunnel in, make a landing here, and then tunnel in. Yeah, I like that. Oh, that's gonna hurt. And basically, like I said, I'm studying for economics to work in the finance field. So anyway, I had to take like a bunch of physics stuff. Not physics, whoops. Business, and I have to take accounting, statistics, a lot of that bullcrap, really. And when I say bullcrap, I don't exactly mean like it's useful to know, especially the business. The accounting, somewhat. I mean, I can see where it can be useful. But I don't really see, but anyway, so my business teacher was talking about how industrialization really improved, not improved, but yeah, led to certain events, and she mentioned how, and then she said, basically, what it did was it caused the South to bring in more slaves, and basically the slavery that they brought in eventually caused a civil war. And at that point, I may be studying economics, but my true passion is definitely history. It's a fun subject. I thoroughly enjoy history. Oops. And for a time, actually, if I were to do anything, I would have been a history teacher. And there goes my frame rate. Anyway, it's back. No, okay, I don't want to do that. I actually think I want to leave the roof stone. Just did this as like a joist, or whatever you want to call it, and I think I'm going to use just these. And anyway, I wanted to chew out my business professor over a history mistake, which I know now that I think about it, it would have been a little unfair because she didn't study history, or maybe she did, but, and that's the other thing, if you actually think about it, American schools have done a tremendous injustice to people. American schools do an injustice to people, and that they basically boil the Civil War down to slavery. When you actually study it, and the really sad part is people eat that shit up all the time. They're just like, oh yeah, it was obviously due to slavery. South wanted to keep them in, wanted to free them. And I just sit there, basically with that, really expression whenever I see this, and I actually say this, like, guys, what's more likely? And especially if you look at the culture of the South, yes, slavery was an important factor in the Civil War. It was an important economic factor in starting it. But the issue was much broader than that. Specifically, it was a states' rights issue. The South just didn't want to deal with the federal government telling the South what it could and could not do economically. And they also felt like their vote was being overpowered by the North, the more populous North. Which is again which is very fair for them to assume, because it's kind of what happened in 1860. But it was actually, but it doesn't make any sense because when I start referring to this, don't confuse it for today's Democrat and Republican Party. Back then, the ideologies were somewhat flipped, somewhat not. But basically, the Democrats back then were what controlled the South. So yeah, the ideology was kind of flipped. That said, their ideologies, politically speaking, were similar to what they are today. But again, don't. But don't confuse them. So the Southern Democrats were pretty much, let me put it this way, they were not fans of basically being overpowered by the more Republican North. And when I say Republican North, it was more, it's kind of funny because it was the Democrats more versus the Whigs. The Republicans were a relatively new party at that time, and as such, they were one of those few parties to actually survive. If you actually look at, like, if you look at our history in terms of political history, most successful party by far in terms of early success was definitely the Republicans, because very quickly did they actually start winning elections and such and such. Was abolition part of their platform? Yeah. Or when I say part of their platform, it wasn't a major part. It was just something that was useful in picking up some of the northern states and but long story short, it was more of a states' rights issue than it was a slavery issue. And can I forgive I can forgive average people if they don't know the history, but but for a professor in college, it's kind of inexcusable in my opinion. It's kind of inexcusable for a college professor to not reach the conclusion that it was not a slavery issue, it was a states' rights issue. Basically the South said, you know what, we want to do what we want to do, and we don't want you telling us what we can and cannot do. And the North was like, listen, the states are not above the federal government, and that was kind of the point where that's kind of the point where the South was like, bullshit, and they decided to secede. Admittedly, that wasn't a smart decision. They should have just waited 4 years and elected somebody else, because our government is built to change. And I think that's what a lot of people forget is patience. You don't have to change everything overnight. Damn it, I don't want to use any of those picks. Here we go. Excuse me. this. Oh, hey, it came back. Interesting. I will definitely take it. I think he'd be a fool not to, of course, but now it's gone. I think I go one. Yeah, platform will come next. I'm gonna go see if I have some smooth stone, and let's make sure that's lit up, because I'm not interested in having zombies come and eat my face. But yeah, and what's interesting is this is an issue the U.S., the United States is facing today. It's facing the question of whether or not it's facing that question again of whether or not states have the right to basically tell the government that we're not a fan of the way you're running things. I personally have zero problem with the states telling the government no, pretty much telling the government yeah, no, you cannot do that. You're overstepping your bounds, and quite often the federal government does these days, and it's very disappointing that people don't call the government out enough. I believe this is the one I wanted, right? Yeah. And it's kind of an issue that goes back to a lot of things. And when I say a lot of things, I'm being very overly general, I'll admit. But we are not the federal government's playthings. We are citizens, well, at least I am, citizens of the United States, and as such we have certain, as Thomas Jefferson put them, inalienable rights. That should be afforded to us. Simply because of that, and federal government kinda has to like actually remove these now. I'm not going to put anything there just because I think it'd be too awkward to transition. I know it's inconsistent building style, but I think it's more harmonious the way this way. Yeah, okay, so that's what I did. But again, and if the government doesn't listen to us, as Jefferson said, like, if the government decides not to listen to us even more than they already don't, like, if they decide to suspend elections or something, which, to everybody who says it's unlikely to happen, yeah, it's unlikely to happen, but we're not saying it will happen. We're saying it can happen, because it's happened before, where governments decided that they were above their own rules, and I believe this is where we should be punching out over here. I was going to have to do that anyway. So it should be punching that. It's 4 down. Yeah, it should be punching out here shortly. And I'll come back and replace these holes later. And kind of ironically, that's one of the reasons why federal government, and when I say federal government, our Constitution here in the United States allows us to possess firearms. It's because our founding fathers had just fought a rebellion. I wonder. Still above the floor. Not really. Okay, this is a good spot. Yeah, so long story short, I'm just bitching about stuff. I think I can go down to... Oh, here, really? Yeah, this will look nice, I think. Do I have any dirt? Yes, I have dirt. Yeah, anyway, that's going to be my rant over, because this episode is kind of sort of finished. I'm actually not going to put those joists down here either, simply because I don't think they're needed. about it. I'll probably come down here, clean this up, and that'll be kind of like my path down there. So anyway, see you next time, guys. Bye.